Never would I have expected those words to come along with my trip home from LA. Getting out of the car, my hand shook as I grabbed my suitcase and gave my friend a farewell. I was on my way back to Chicago as I entered the airport. I felt I was swimming in an ocean with no land whatsoever in sight. I was nervous. However, that was something I would never admit. Though I frequently fly alone, managing my way through LAX, in my mind, was a whole nother story. I held my luggage close by my side and secured my backpack straps to be tightly rubbing against my arms. It was just 7 more jam-packed hours until I'd be home. 34%, my phone battery read as I breezed my way through airport security, passing the people holding up the line playing Pokemon Go and out-of-towners hoping to do some last-minute celebrity spotting. My eyes rolled along with my suitcase. Finally, with my phone and plane ticket in hand, I headed toward the gate. Of course, being the speedwalker I am, I got from point A to B in less than 10 minutes. So now I ended up having a good 2 hours until I'd board my flight. 29% my phone battery drained just as it was announced my flight was delayed. My "I just managed my way through LAX" mentality then sunk. Thousands of thoughts raced through my mind. My chest became slightly tighter, and the hundreds of people around me became a blur. I began making lists in my brain of things I needed to do that I couldn't do without my phone. What if my flight's canceled, I thought to myself. How am I going to contact my mom? Once again, I was anxious. However, this time I was even admitting to it. 17%. Scanning the room, I looked for the nearest outlet and saw one only 5 feet away. I launched my body and suitcase there and plugged in my charger. However, the lightning never flashed. Still hopeful, I looked for another outlet. Yet after 4 rounds of bending down, plugging in my phone, and my heart sinking even further into my chest, I looked up and saw only one last outlet at a nearby charging station. At this point, it was my only hope. But yet, as I began reaching toward the outlet, a man wearing an "I love LA" crossbody purse around his neck screeched, "Sorry, honey, but that outlet doesn't work." I sighed. Just as I was about to give up, sending a panicked "my phone is about to die" text to my mom, from the other side of the station I hear in the thickest southern accent possible, "You can charge with me, sweetie." 10%. I look up and see probably the last person I would ever want to talk to in an airport. A man dressed around in his late 60s, dressed in baggy jeans, chains, and a worn-out t-shirt, had red flag labeled all over him, for some reason to me. Yet my only opportunity for the safest way home relied upon him. Walking toward him, I reached out my cord and plugged it into the other side of his double-wide charging outlet. I sat on my suitcase, holding tightly onto my backpack while not letting a second go by without glancing at my phone rested next to him. Then looking up from his phone, he turns to me wanting to have a conversation. I was startled. Minutes go by and I'm suddenly in awe by the situation I am living. Telling me about his reoccurring trips back and forth from LA to his hometown in Georgia, and constantly persuading me to go to St. Louis. In between, the man received many phone calls. Each time I would glance at his phone and see a different extremely southern name such as Charlonda pop up, and him answer, "Hey sugar," with some odd love remark for that particular woman. I started to get the gist that each of these women were his girlfriends, and after seeing him pull out a second phone to answer yet another female's call, my thoughts were nearly confirmed. 64%. Pondering upon his life, I was startled when he said, "I gotta go to the bathroom. Would you mind watching my stuff?" There I sat in the middle of LAX with my luggage and a random man's scrappy carry-on bag and one of his 2 phones. What man leaves their phones and all their belongings with a stranger at LAX, I thought to myself. Then eventually strolling back to me, he replies, "I should have bought you a drink." I nervously laughed, "It's all good." As he looked at one of his phones and noticed a missed call, he said, "Girl, you should have answered it." I once again just laughed along with him as we fell back into him telling me his life stories, interrupted every few minutes by a new Charlonda call. As it was my time to board the plane, we said our goodbyes. Looking at him, I realized I never had the chance to catch his name. Was he the guy the rap song 2 Phones was inspired by? No matter the name or true story behind this man, he made a particularly memorable imprint on my travels back from LA. Being someone I would have avoided talking to at all costs, he became a man I now wish I could converse with yet again. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody. That's going to do it for today. For this hour.